rapid evolving landscape of AV design and audio technology, the integration of artificial intelligence is transforming the way we experience and interact with sound. As we move towards a future where personalization and tailored experiences are becoming increasingly important, AI is playing a pivotal role in enabling personalized audio experiences that cater to individual preferences, listening environments, and specific use cases. Hello and welcome to today's episode of Analytics Insight podcast, where we explore the cutting edge of technology shaping the way we create, communicate, and connect. And I'm your host, Priya Dialani. Now, today we are tuning into a transformative wave sweeping across the audio world, which is, of course, powered by artificial intelligence. From breaking language barriers to reimagining the way stories are told, AI is helping creators, platforms, and even brands reach and resonate with global audiences like never before. So, if you have ever wondered how your favorite podcast now speaks your native language or how brands craft personalized audio content on the fly, you're about to find out today. So, let's welcome Prateek Dixit, co founder and CTO of Pocket Entertainment. Hi, Prateek, how are you doing?
Thanks, Priya. Thanks for the warm welcome. Pleasure to be here. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good too. Thank you. And likewise, it's a pleasure to have you with us on a podcast today. And definitely, we are going to touch upon very interesting and definitely a very significant transformation that probably we're experiencing in today's digital world. But before we, dive deeper into our core discussion today, we would like to know more about Pocket Entertainment, Prateek. So, if you could help us understand more about the organization, its specialization, or any particular solution the company is offering.
Yeah, I think so. Quick sort of like brief about us, Priya. So we started Pocket FM back in 2018. The core goal there was that, like, how do we make writers write really high quality content and publish it without any gatekeeper? If you look at traditional publishing industry or any current platform, there was always been this book gatekeeper where the creators had to go through, right? So we always wanted to build a platform where the science is behind, let's say, the creation and not any sort of like gatekeeper. So we started Pocket in 18 with this vision. So we started by launching an audio platform where creators could upload their content, bite-sized content, long-form content. There was always an inherent demand for this kind of content as well, because there was no sort of like product which was offering audio entertainment specifically back in 18. So we grew from, I think I met Nishant and Rohan in 18. Like, I knew Nishant from way back. I knew Rohan as well. We were all friends. So we started back in 18 with the vision of making writers write high quality content without any gatekeeper. Fast forward today, Neha, we are a listening community of 130 million, more than 130 million listeners across 20 plus countries. We are streaming 100 billion minutes in a year, and that's huge. So what we have figured out over the time, or like in last 7 years, is that content sort of like works. If the content is good, it works everywhere in all the formats. What I mean by that, so Pockets, one of the biggest Pocket content or success was Ek Ladki Ko Dekha Hai. It's in Hindi. So that content worked in all the languages. So Pocket is in currently in 10 different languages, starting from Tamil, Telugu, Hindi, of course. Then you have English, German, Spanish, and there are a couple of other languages as well. So what we saw, Ek Ladki Ko Dekha Hai, when adapted to other languages, it worked really good there as well in all the other languages. So what we figured out over the time, that if the content is good, there's no way it won't work in different languages and different form factors like novels and comics, right? So what we have figured out over last 7 years is that uh, content has to grow. We should there's no way we should restrict any content to be in one language or one form factor. And especially like with the advent of AI infrastructure technologies in last 2 3 years, what Pocket FM has done is that we have evolved to become more of an AI entertainment platform where AI is driving adaptation to different languages, even conversion of this content to different formats. Let's say the content I was talking about, Ek Ladki Ko Dekha Hai, that content is now being adapted to 8 to 10 different languages through AI, the tools that we have built in house. And this content is also getting now created in comics and novels through the tools that we have built in house. through AI. So you can understand, right? Small content in one language grew so much through AI. And that's how we sort of like started Pocket Entertainment, because we knew if we have right sort of like AI infrastructure, if you're investing heavily on AI, I think we can build, and if we have really good IPs, I think we can sort of like build other form factors as well. So audio, comics, and novels. So we launched novels back in 2024. Comics was launched this year, early this year, and yeah, I think we are now truly AI powered pocket entertainment platform now. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for that overview, Pratik. And it really sets the stage for a conversation. And, with that foundation in place, I would love to dive deeper into your own journey and the role you play in driving the vision of Pocket Entertainment forward. So, your experience or expertise, lies in data science and engineering, and you have always been leveraging emerging technologies to, manage different executions efficiently, profitably, and securely. So can you tell us more about, your role? How has the journey been till date? And what are your contribution towards the company?
Yeah, so primarily, Priya, I look after the technology, vision, and tech infrastructure. Over last 2 3 years, my role has evolved to sort of like, along with technology, to define the company's AI strategy. How do we become AI first business, Priya? As we talked about, a bunch of tools we are building for in-house purposes, and even we're going to launch a bunch of tools public as well. So my role has evolved to become both technology and then basically defining the strategy, AI strategy of the company as well. So as part of that, I mean, one of the core sort of like goal has been, how do we empower writers to write high quality content, right? I mean, that's the very core of Pocket's vision. If you talk about like any form factor, the core is always the script, right? And if you're able to do it very well, we think that will always be ahead in this race of creating high quality content, right? So to sum up, I think technology, defining technology vision, technology infrastructure strategy, and AI strategy and AI vision as well. That's my core responsibilities at this time, Priya. Yeah, anything? Yeah, please go ahead.
Great. That's really insightful, and it's always fascinating to understand the person behind the role, especially when your work intersects with innovation and leadership on such a dynamic position and level. So, thank you for helping us understand more about yourself, Pratik. Moving ahead, you mentioned about language, and you specified and you focused on how the content has been growing and content production has been growing, and how language plays. So I think language is a very important part of human communication, and a basic aspect of human understanding, because the world is a global market, and this diversity of languages has led to difficulties in engaging for effective communication and collaboration. Now India alone has 22 official languages, and countless regional languages and dialects which change every few hundred kilometers. So AI has emerged to overcome this challenge of language barriers, and has stepped into bringing about a very transformative shift. So it's leading to charge in breaking down the traditional barriers and paving the way for a more inclusive and a very seamless global interaction. So how do you think that AI is helping overcome this challenge today? What are different technologies related to AI that can help break down this challenge of language barrier?
Yeah, I think really great question, Priya. I mean, if you think about like 5 years, 6 years back, I mean, I think just a great, if you talk about like, if you take all the languages in the world, Priya, right? So there are more than 80 plus languages with 10 million speakers, and that's a lot, right? I'm talking about the 80 plus languages with more than 10 million speakers, right? India alone has four or five of those languages, right? What has happened over the time with AI is that if you think any content platform, any other any OTT platform, audio platform, or reading platform, we never sort of like used to build content for like very small sort of languages, a language which does not have a lot of speakers. Let's say if I talk about what are the OTT platforms building for, which language they are mostly building for, they are either building for Hindi, English, Tamil, Telugu, or they are building for maybe German and French. No one builds content for, let's say, those long tail languages, right? And people are literally starved of content in those sort of things, right? And what has happened over the time with the capability of AI, with the infrastructure that we have from AI, is that now we are now able to build content for everyone, right? So when you talk about again like those 80 plus languages, right? So Pocket is leading that race, right? So if you talk about the evolution of Pocket FM, we started with 4 or 5 different languages. Now with the help of AI, so we are building very core models in house. Priya, model is called Atlas. So that model basically allows any writer to convert their content from a base language, and that language could either be Hindi, English, Tamil, Telugu, German, to any other target language, and the target language could be any other language itself, right? And this can happen within a day itself, right? Initially it used to take like months and months to basically adapt the content manually, but the kind of tools that Pocket has built internally, it helps writers to localize and adapt their content from one language to other languages, right? So there are two folds benefits of this. One is, of course, you are able to reach more users in their own local and native languages. Second, you talk about writers as well. It's also empowering writers to make their content reaching to global audiences, right? So that has been a great success. In terms of voice as well, voice technologies have really become really good over the last 2 3 years, right? So in voices as well, I think you can now create and dub content in more than 20 languages. Yeah. And for that, of course, we are partnered with ElevenLabs technologies to make our content available in more than 10 to 15 languages globally itself, right? So yeah, it's been a great journey, and I feel Pocket in next 2 3 years will be available in like more than 30 40 languages, and that's a rapid innovation from our front as well, Priya. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's incredible to see how far we have come. And, just a few years ago, reaching, multilingual audiences meant either large translation teams or, sacrificing quality or speed. But I think now AI is really stepping in to bridge that gap and bringing more nuance, tone, and even cultural sensitivity into the mix. So thank you for sharing that. So let's, dig a little deeper into this evolving experience. When we're talking about AI is significantly enhancing audio software, improving the quality of multimedia content, and the clarity of communication in voice and video calls as well. Noise cancellation, once a luxury, has become a necessity, especially in dynamic environments with varying background noise levels. And even modern systems, for example, in some flagship smartphone models, an informed neural network method was applied to deliver high quality live conversations during calls by effectively, separating voice from background noise and echo. All of these technologies are also consuming less power on the other hand. So I think when we're talking about AI in the, audio content, I think it's changing the way we process audio content and, leading to more notable advancements. So in terms of building, global scale audio platforms, what are some scalability challenges that you have seen, and how do you see AI can help solve them?
Yeah, I think one of the most fundamental scalability challenge, especially if you're going multilingual, Priya, as I talked about, Pocket is planning to go to more than 30 plus languages in 1 2 years. I think one of the most fundamental scalable challenge in doing so is the amount of data that is required. Right. So for every language, for every new language, you need a good amount of data to train and sort of like fine tune your model on. And be it like LLMs or be it your TTS or voice synthesis model, you need good amount of data. So that has been sort of like a crucial challenge as we are scaling and launching new languages. And Pocket is in a good space in that sense, because we are so Pocket is also UGC platform. We also allow writers to write content, and we also like sort of incentivize them. So Pocket has at this point like more than 10,000 hours of content in at least 10,000, more than 10,000 of hours of content in each of these new languages, right? And once we have that, it sort of like gives us an edge on training those model more efficiently, right? So I think data is one of the most important and most crucial challenges we scale and sort of like launch new languages. The second is, of course, your the infrastructure and amount of power or the amount of compute you need, right? But what we feel in that area is that I think model and the cloud infrastructure, right, eventually is going to be more of a commodity, right? Because as we also, if you really sort of like read what OpenAI or Anthropic other folks are doing, right? So people have reached bit of saturation in terms of model, right? The quality of models, right? So what we feel, whosoever has large amount of high quality data, they'll always be ahead in the race, right? And model, which is now a challenge, of course, and even the infrastructure, right? The amount of GPUs required to sort of train in 1 or 2 years, they eventually will be becoming more of a commodity, right? The players who have a lot of data and very distinct data will eventually sort of like have an edge in winning the competition, winning this race, right? So in that front, I think Pocket is really, really sort of like well placed. Just to take an example, Priya, right? Uh, so generally, what happens in model training, you need, let's say, we talked about ek ladki ko dekha hai content, right? And to get and train on ek ladki ko dekha hai, right? You need all the edits made while that content was being produced. So let's say the Ek Ladki Ko Dekha started back in 3 years. And till now, more than 10,000 edits have been made in Ek Ladki Ko Dekha to reach to this level of quality. So Pocket has, we started saving all of these edits on this all of these content, right? So we have more than 100 million edits of our own internal content, right? And you don't get this high quality of data anywhere in the public, right? So yeah, I think data is going to be a huge challenge, and we are making sure that we are ahead in terms of that. Model and cloud infrastructure is slight bit of challenge at this point, but what we feel in next 1.5 2 years, models, the quality of models is more of going to be commodity, and GPU cost is going to get cheaper as well. Yeah.
Right, and I think that's such an insightful breakdown of the hurdles. And you mentioned about the infrastructure challenges currently, but yes, I think over the years, AI will be able to transform and address the challenge of scalability from a purely infrastructure issue to an experience-driven opportunity. I think it's no longer just about reaching to more users. It's about reaching every user with content that feels tailored and immediate to them. Now, since we're talking about, different areas of audio and how AI is playing an important role. So, I think I want to, shift gears to other aspects. For example, voice synthesis. Now, when voice synthesis first started, the results were far from lifelike. Early speech synthesis systems produced more robotic, monotone voices that were even hard to listen and lacked any real emotion. Now, imagine the early days of computer generated voices, very basic and unnatural. Now, fast forward to today, and the story has completely changed. Advances in AI and ML have allowed synthetic speech to become remarkably more sophisticated. These AI voices now have the ability to replicate the nuances of human speech, such as tone, pauses, and even emotion. So they
Yeah.
can even mimic a wide range of accents, speech patterns, vocal qualities, and make them sound more like real people than ever before.
Yeah.
So I want to understand from you, how do you think that these technologies like voice synthesis or even script generation and narration, how mature are these technologies today, and where do you see them heading?
Yeah, I think a pretty insightful question, I think, Priya. So as we discussed before, I think is investing heavily on like text adaptation, where you can take a text and then adapt it into different languages, and then of course voice synthesis, because we are again like Pocket FM is an audio platform, and then of course text to graphics and images as well. So I'll take like each of these answer in like for each of these formats. In terms of text to text, Priya, I think uh, if we divide languages into two parts, like languages with huge amount of public data and languages with very lack of public data, right? So languages with huge amount of public data would be English, Hindi, German, French, and maybe like two, three more languages, right? But when you talk about like Indic languages or maybe like long tail languages across the globe, uh, you don't get a lot of public data, right? And that's where the challenges are, as we discussed, right? I mean, scaling language adaptation, especially for long tail languages, is a challenge because the data is not there. Data is there though, but the amount of data that's required to fine tune really, really high quality output isn't yet there, right? So I think so that's one thing, right? I think for high quality data for languages where we have huge amount of data, I think solutions are really, really good. In fact, just to take an example, we can now adapt a content from English to German, English to French, or English to Spanish with 95% of human quality right, within a day, right? And that's very, very close to what humans can do in terms of translation and adaptation, right? So for these languages, we have really reached to that level where we are now pretty confident of quality, and the quality is as good as humans in some cases, to be honest, right? But on the contrary side, for the languages where we don't have enough data, right? Or let's say if Pocket is launching a new language where Pocket itself doesn't have any data, I think that's where the challenges are, right? Because the amount of data required to train a really high quality model, it's not there. In those languages, the quality is somewhere between 70 to 75%, right? And we still need a lot of human effort to fix the quality and have a lot of QC as well. And same is the case with voice synthesis as well, Priya, right? Uh, if we talk about, let's say, the amount of voice data is available out there in public, it's similar to what I discussed, what I said for text as well. The data will be very, very high quality, and amount of data will be very high for languages like English, German, French, Hindi. But amount of data required for training, let's say, long tail languages won't be there at all, right? In some cases, it's within, let's say, a range of 10K hours. And you need, again, to train high quality voice synthesis, you need high amount of data and high quality data. And that's the same challenge in voice synthesis as well. So our voice synthesis for English, German, Hindi is pretty good. At times, as you rightly mentioned, it's hard to understand whether it's a human voice or an AI voice. But on the other hand, uh, the languages, the long tail languages where we still don't have a lot of data to train on, these are not so good, to be honest, right? I mean, there'll be somewhere around 70-80% in terms of quality. So yeah, I think this is where are we. But in next 2 to 3 years, Priya, what is happening is that with the advent of synthetic data generation, there are some models, there are some techniques where we can generate data synthetically for any language or any sort of like genre. With the advent of that, I think these gaps will start to fill in as well, right? Think about like this: if we can, let's say, generate synthetic data for a new language where the public data is very less, I think it will work for us, right? So in 1.5 2 years, we think, Priya, is that with the advent of synthetic data, I think we should be able to bridge this gap of lack of data for long tail languages, and we feel that we can build high quality models for those languages as well, Priya.
Right. I think I agree with you. And what's exciting is the creative and empowerment it also brings on the table. And it's not just for big studios or enterprises, but also for independent creators, who can now have access to these tools that once required, entire production teams. But on the other hand, I believe while, the potential is limitless, the journey also demands responsibility. Now, with AI taking on a larger role in storytelling and communication, there are valid concerns about originality, bias, transparency, and even deep fakes. So as creators and technologists, we need to ensure that the tools we use remain ethical and the content remains authentic. So that means being transparent when AI generated voices are used, or ensuring that the training data, the data that we are inputting to these tools is inclusive, and always giving credit where it's due now, whether it's to a human writer or probably an AI assistant. So, how do you maintain authenticity and emotional resonance when a narrative is created or even voiced by AI?
Yeah, I think as you like in what has happened over the last 2 years, Priya, is that uh, with again, so with the advent of synthetic sort of like data generation, right? I think first of all, with synthetic data generation, you can create a lot of diverse data as well, right? I'll talk about specifically within the Pockets context. So within Pockets context, Priya, I think we have high quality moderation process in place where we make sure that, let's say, so there are twofold answers to this, right? One is, how do you make sure that models are like inclusive and models are generating output which is again not lying in that sense, right? And second is, even if model generates that, as a platform, how do we stop that from, let's say, getting published? So I'll answer the latter one first. So to protect, let's say, getting that sort of like content published, we have really high quality moderations layer in place, right? And these are like all AI moderated layer, AI moderations itself, right? Where the goal is to identify, let's say, the duplication amount. Let's say if they are content, So we what we do is that we take that content and we match it against all the other content available in Pocket FM, right? And if it, let's say, if the duplication level is more than 90%, we flag it and we don't ever publish it, right? And same is the case with voices as well. If the voices are matching, let's say, from a UGC creator or a PGC creator, and it's if the score is more than 90%, we'll never publish it, right? So that's from the moderation point of view, right? So the content will never go live in that sense. Second, it's more of a proactive measure, right? How do you make sure that models are built such that these kind of things are not happening, right? So for that, there's this process called alignment layer. So if you talk about, let's say, a foundational model building, so you obviously like train a model, you have reinforcement learning, and then you align with, let's say, the feedbacks or the outputs that you want as a user, right? So we have a manual team of folks where they test the model for certain kind of outputs, right? And this is called the alignment layer. And the team's job is to make sure that more than 99% of the output should be like unique. They should not be like, as you talked about, let's say, it should not be, the output should not be, let's say, basically like completely replicated from other software sources. So that's the alignment layer we're talking about, right? And we are investing heavily on that as well. So I think club both of these, the moderation part and having rightly built software alignment layers is helping Pocket to make sure that we don't have any sort of like duplication. We are making sure that IPs are not getting fetched, and so on and so forth, Priya.
Right, and I think that really opens up an important dialogue around the creative essence of storytelling, because at the heart of any powerful narrative, whether told by a person or by a machine produced with the help of AI, is eventually a connection. And of course, in the years ahead, we might, be able to create that connection with the help of the machines.
Yeah.
But of course, I think that the time will tell is what I feel.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think just one thing I want to emphasize, Priya, whatever tools we are building in Pocket, Priya, uh, they are still in control with, let's say, the creator. So let's say we talk about, let's say, adaptation tool or comics tool or voice synthesis tool. So the creators are still in the driving seat here, right?
right.
We're not completely relying on AI, let's say, in that sense. So we don't use like AI in that sense where you generate an output and you publish it. The creators are still in the driving seat there, right? And if the creators are feeling that the content is not good enough, they're not going to do that, right? So that's the fact, right? I mean, we are letting creators sort of like manage all of these tools, and they're still in the creator driving seat, right? So that's also a very crucial point, right?
Definitely, yeah, yeah. I think that's important, where we are trying to, create a safe space, where we are effectively amalgamating human and automation, AI automation, and ensuring that the power of storytelling is definitely reaching the end user and not taking away the creativity of the creator, I would say. So, having said that, Prateek, one last question for you: how do you think the future holds for interactive and AI-powered audio experiences, or what are some trends do you think will shape the future of audio in the coming years?
Yeah, I mean, pretty interesting times. I mean, like especially like next 2, 3 years, the way I think technology is evolving, the way AI infrastructure is evolving, I think we'll be seeing very unique products coming out. First of all, I think the existing products will keep on getting better. So when you talk about voice synthesis, LLMs or adaptation, comics in that sense, so they will keep on becoming better. But what we feel is that there'll be a range of new Snowflake products in content which will be getting launched as well. For say, let's say, if there's a story we talked about, let's say, "Ek Ladke Ko Dekha Hai," can there be a version where we can actually personalize this story to, let's say, for every user? Let's say if there are 10 million users for this show, can we have a unique and very personalized story of "Ek Ladke Ko Dekha Hai" for each one of these users, right? And maybe like users can itself select what they want to sort of like which part they want to select, right? So I think what we believe is that there'll be bunch of new products in content industry will be coming out with the help of AI. One of them will be interactive stories, and of course, like will also be going towards a hyper personalization direction, right? Where the content will be personalized to not just a cluster level, at a user level itself. Yeah, right. So I think bunch of interesting product we presume to come out of like industry in next 2-3 years through the advent of AI.
Right, definitely. So I think whether you're a content creator looking to expand your audience, or a brand aiming for deeper engagement, or just an audio enthusiast fascinated by tech, it's clear that AI is not just changing how we hear the world, but it's changing how the world hears us. And I think that's how we are going to see the future ahead as well. Well, thank you so much, Prateek, and taking a time and effort to be on this podcast and helping us understand that the future of audio will be more, hyper personalized. We'll witness more interactivity and global inclusivity. And amidst all of this, I think AI will be at the heart of this future that we are going to see. And it is going to quietly power the stories that connect us, teach us, and move us. So thank you so much for your time and effort today, Pratik. It was pleasure and, lovely talking to you.
Thanks, Priya. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Prateek. So this is for our listeners. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and thank you for joining me on today's journey into the future of audio. If you have any questions, you can probably put down on the comments below. Please share it within your network, and stay curious, stay creative, and always keep listening to our podcast on Spotify and other leading platforms. Thank you so much.